back to the U.S. Elections and so forth. Do people in Asia, Singapore, do they have any particular party they want to have win the U.S. elections, or you stay very neutral in this?
We have no vote, but we live with the outcome.
Okay. And today, would you expect that after the election, the U.S.-China relationship might get better than it is today?
We hope so. Historically, in presidential election years, the U.S.-China relationship always gets entangled in the presidential campaign. And after that, after some time, when the new administration settles in, you begin to understand what really the world is like, and things settle down. I'm not sure whether it will happen this time, because the field is quite different, and the degree of animus and, sad to say, bipartisan consensus on treating China as a threat is quite extraordinary. And I fear that it may carry on over past the election, and if it does, I think that bodes ill for the world.
Now, in the United States, people are to some extent blaming China for COVID-19, rightly or wrongly. Is that the same phenomenon in Asia? Do people blame China for COVID-19, or basically they don't blame China for that?
I don't think it's on top of people's minds. If you ask them, I'm sure they would say, well, there must have been missteps. After all, they look at the Chinese. They removed the party secretary from Wuhan. They removed the party secretary from Hubei province. So they must have done so for a reason, even though they haven't quite said what the missteps were which merited these disciplinary actions. But frankly, no government has dealt with this completely perfectly, because it's been such a rapidly moving situation, such an unknown new disease. We're discovering things as you go along. You learn by doing. And that's what's happened to all of us, some with better results, some for the time being with not so good results. But the battle is not over, and the jury is still out.
Now, in the United States, the new law in China that deals with Hong Kong is somewhat controversial. Obviously, we've imposed some sanctions and other things, and the Secretary of State's been outspoken about it. What is the general reaction in Singapore or in Asia to what's happening in Hong Kong now?
Well, we watch what's happening in Hong Kong with concern. In fact, we've been watching it with concern for some time, because Hong Kong's had a difficult time over these last several years. It's a deeply divided society. It's had demonstrations which are bitter and protracted, and increasingly with a violent tinge to them. It has an obligation to pass a national security law. That means Hong Kong is supposed to pass a national security law under the Basic Law, which is their constitution, which they have not been able to do. And looking at the way things were trending over the last few years, it was quite clear that this could not continue indefinitely, and certainly could not last for the rest of the now 27 more years of one country, two systems. So the Chinese have now decided, well, if you're not going to pass a national security law, we, the National People's Congress in Beijing, will pass it on your behalf. And they've said that it complies with one country, two systems. In Hong Kong, the reaction has been split. Some people support it, the administration supports it. A significant part of the population have different views, but it's done. And the Chinese have said, well, you shouldn't worry, this will only affect a very small number of people, and most people should find life carrying on as usual. As time passes, if that proves to be the case, then Hong Kong will settle into a new normal. We hope so. But at the same time, this move has triggered counter responses, most notably amongst Americans in America, and also in Britain, because Britain was the party to the joint declaration. And I'm sure the Chinese must have calculated that and decided that they had to do this regardless. It's most unfortunate, because already there's enough menu of complications between the US and China's bilateral relationship, and this only makes things worse. But from Singapore's point of view, we hope that somehow or other Hong Kong will work through its problems, and we think it's better for Hong Kong and better for the region and Singapore if Hong Kong is stable and calm and prosperous and able to play the role which it used to play, helping China to grow and to prosper as well.